Welcome back to the end of the year.
I know. I can't believe we're doing this.
This is cool. So what are we actually doing today?
I have no idea. I think it was your idea.
Yeah.
Let's
You know
do
what?
some reflections.
Around this year time, I'm always thinking, what can we reflect on what we did during the year? What can we do in the future that's going to make a positive impact? And then just reflect some of the information that we learned from the positive people that we brought onto the show.
For sure. I know these reflections, like I do my best reflection off camera.
I know.
Like where I actually talk about real things. Like, okay, what can we improve? And
A little bit more casual.
Exactly, yeah. No, this is cool. We could talk about it on camera too.
Yeah, because part of that is actually scribing or scribbling a bunch of things. So we're not really afraid of being judged, and then we put the master plan together and showcase it. But this is just a little bit more raw of what are we actually doing here today?
Yeah, it's crazy.
What it feels like. Do you ever feel like that when we go into recording the podcast? What am I actually doing here today?
I did when we started.
Yeah.
When we started, I was like, I had that moment of like, I'm supposed to ask this person questions. But over time, it got so like normal. It just became like chatting with a buddy.
Yeah.
You almost don't notice that the cameras are there.
You know what I realized the biggest change that's happened with me? If I'm going to meet somebody or if I have a type of person I want to meet, I'll just start jotting down questions and start jotting down thoughts. And then that's pretty much going to come up in conversation is something that I want to know. And the one thing I can reflect on looking backwards is that was a good idea. Because these questions weren't something that just I had in mind. It was people messaging me afterwards after posting and resharing. They're just like, that was a good question. And like, that was a good thought. Like, how did you come up with it?
Do you feel like you became a better listener because of the podcast?
I have, yes
Okay.
and no, because now with all this profound information, I feel like I can talk even more because now I have additional talking points because
Like, I had this guest and they told me this.
they told me this and that. Because what will happen is first I'm fascinated about the person.
Yeah.
So I'll go do a bunch of research on them, about their profession, about the
Right.
topic. And then now they just come in and they reinforce the thought that I already had. They just remove any doubt. And I think it goes back to university and school days.
Yeah.
Teachers will always say, if you want to be a great student, study the chapter before you come in. I'll teach the chapter. And then you go and relearn the thing that was taught correctly. And now you've just done 3 different ways, right? Reading, visual, auditory, and then writing them down again the 3rd time. And then, that's how we got our B grades and the A grade students. Obviously, they're a little bit smarter than us, right?
Yo, so question for you. Who was your favorite podcast guest this year?
I think it's the experience. They've all been my favorite. I don't want to say one was better than the other.
Like picking a favorite kid, right?
However,
When you ask parents about a favorite kid, they're like,
yeah.
okay, I don't have a favorite. They're all my favorite.
However, experience-wise, I can tell you the experience when we were getting the needle put into us for that.
Yeah.
That experience was cool.
Right.
Because I'm scared of needles. I had to overcome it.
You mean the episode where you
naturopath.
the one you almost fainted?
Oh, I literally fainted, man. Let's not even talk about almost. I was going to pass out. I was dying.
The little juice box?
The little juice box one. I thought that was a fun experience because we didn't know what we were walking into. I thought she was going to give us like a B12 injection in the arm and we're going to be good to go.
Right.
She's like, no,
well, you got that too.
I got that too because I'm like, okay, we've already gone
this far, yeah.
We've already gotten the minerals in us. Might as well get an additional shot.
Yeah, that
moment was fun.
It was a good podcast. It's so crazy because I think if I was to reflect back on that specific podcast, I would say we were so new. Like that's when I would still get nervous. I would be in that room with Dr. Ritu, and I would get like a little bit of anxiety.
Yep.
Like, oh, I'm supposed to, like, we're on camera, cameras are rolling.
Yeah.
All the way to now, it's like I said, now I don't feel that nervousness anymore, which is nice.
Yeah.
I'm more present. I'm asking questions. I'm having fun with the guests.
Yeah.
So it feels a little bit more normal. I feel like you were already better at that. So,
yeah, doing it on a daily basis. You have to meet people that you don't know, so we have to ask those questions.
Yeah. So I feel like you were already just like killing it, and so I had to come to a little bit more.
You say that because I thought you were killing it and I needed to improve.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah.
And I think we've shared this a couple times just off camera and just to other people of acknowledging what is working and what is not working and how can we just kind of push the boundaries.
Exactly,
so you actually helped me do that because you've never said no to me. I'll say, hey, I'm going to bring on such and such type of guest. What do you think? And you'll always say, hey, instead of doing this, why don't we do that? Like Sunny Satia. We had to drive all the way to Chilliwack.
Exactly. Yeah.
And now we're sitting in front of these beautiful, like $500,000 worth of cars in this beautiful showroom doing this podcast. And Austin was with us as well, and that was cool. I was like, I would never have done that unless you just brought up an additional idea of, hey, what if we just do it this way? What if we just change it up? And I thought, you know what, comfort zone is a huge thing. How do we just remove the doubt and then remake or rebrand ourselves to be better and better each time?
For sure. I think goes both ways, right? Yeah, yeah. I recommend those ideas, but
Yep.
it also takes the right person to be like, okay, sure, let's try it. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the places that we showed up, when we were showing up with our camera, like we didn't even have a gimbal at this time. We went to Sunny's place.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't watch this back because we just had like I don't even know, like a hook or whatever. But
Yeah.
we didn't have a gimbal, so some of the pans and the cuts they're not great because the camera's shaking and Austin's trying to hold the camera in three places to make sure it's secure.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know this, but like we went through a lot of failures just to get to this point where now we have a gimbal and now we have a proper
I don't
camera
think it's
with proper
failures.
mics.
I think it's mishaps and
Yeah.
not knowing.
Right.
And then the funny thing is, like, we had Austin show up, your friend. We had my friend Manbir show up. We
Yes.
had a couple of those guys that were talking about podcasting when we went to go meet Pav Dari behind stage.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're doing all these hilarious things and bringing all these other people. And now every single one of them, they always want to find a way to contribute as well.
Yeah.
They're like, you need us. We'll just be behind the camera, but we want to be in a shared experience with you.
Yeah. So actually, I want to touch on that because that's a really, really important message.
Yep.
A lot of people, yes, they're like, yeah, I want to be behind the scenes and help you. But actually, what I've noticed is that more people want to be part of it and actually be on camera. So Manbir is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Because in the Guru Nanak's Free Kitchen, he was actually on camera quite a bit more than I thought.
He did.
I have friends at Ishan, a couple the young guys that came to the Pav Daria show. He actually messaged me one day. I can't remember when it was. I want to say it's about a month ago.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, you've inspired me to be on camera more often.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to start YouTube or whatever. Just like being comfortable, being who you are, not overcomplicating it, not overthinking what you look like on camera, what you sound like, and actually just enjoying the process of creating something that could be of value to other people. So I think that's the cool part of what we're doing is that it's actually impacting a lot of people.
Yeah.
Good and bad. I've had people message me and say other things too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I posted stuff on TikTok. TikTok is like a wild, wild west.
Yeah, I think that's
There's zero
crazy.
filter on some of these people. I'm like, who is this user 2505678J5? Oh, why is this person matching me?
You know, it's funny because I talked to, I can't remember one of our guests, I talked to them about this, where if you really want to blow up on social media, controversial topics. Like if you talk about anything controversial, the typical Andrew Tate or something that's just beyond the scope, I think it rubs people, and then you'll get a lot of like haters, but also like people supporting. But we've kind of collectively, it's not that we've been super vocal about it, but we've kind of not done that, right? We've said, okay, we want to try to stay away from BS controversy just to get known and exposure. We want to talk about things that we think are actually valuable.
That's huge.
And keep hitting that message home, right?
Yeah. Because then it's attraction of the type of people we want as well. And also to blow up a video, you had a video, which was the cowboy video with the old couple. How would you take such an innocent question of how do you make a relationship work with a couple of old people to blow up to 15 or 20 or 30,000 views? It had nothing to do with anything. And then you did a cold plunge. That had all these hits. We could do all these other fun things. And then the things that maybe are, I don't know how, if it's virality or what it is, or we're piquing people's interest. Because I want to post stuff that is interesting, something that will help somebody. And then the videos that are getting all these hits are these like cold plunges.
The fun stuff.
The fun stuff. Or even when we went with, Sunny Setia's car videos, that blew up. Like I got so many comments on that, and I was like, holy, I didn't realize like that was an actual thing, and we just wanted to talk about exotic cars and old school cars.
And I think with him, we want to talk about his journey in entrepreneurship because he's really well known for that too.
Yeah.
But that's just it. I think it is really, I would say, not easy, but it's relatively easy to make content that just goes viral for the sake of going viral.
Yeah.
But we don't want to do that. We want things that deliver value. And so I think having thought about this a few times, it's like how do we create value without just nonsensical virality?
Yeah.
Like how do we actually sit down, talk about something maybe we've learned about leadership, about entrepreneurship, about business, relationships, whatever it is, And that's one of the reasons we bring on the guests that we do bring, is because they're contributing value in ways that, again, typically high school students, college students, university students, young adults, they're not really exposed to these kind of lessons unless you're in that network seeking it.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I think we've done a really good job of is how do we make this entertaining, but not a waste of time.
Yes.
And I think we want to, at least for me, I want to kind of keep pushing that agenda forward into next year. And so
I actually like that you touched on that, because now we've added, I guess, a third layer to what we're doing, where we're doing YouTube lives, where we're bringing guests on that are not within our proximity. I mean, somebody sitting in California, we're not going to fly out to California,
right.
but we're going to get them online because their information is also important. It might be a little bit different than what we do. Going to live events is one thing. Having people in different studio settings is a different thing. And now the third layer of people wanting to talk to us. I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's like we've made some sort of dent, or there's enough of a ripple out there for people to reach out. So part of it is being leaders in this kind of space. I wouldn't think of myself as a leader, but these are the type of terms that are being thrown out. Like, hey, you guys are leaders in this space for bringing us up and bringing these questions on. And it's not me. I like tooting my own horn because it strokes the ego. But that's what the comments that are getting messages from the people. From the people.
The people. And I think it's important for us to see that too, right? Because so many people watch our stuff, but they don't interact, they don't reach out, they don't let us know, hey, what you're doing is actually helping. What you're doing is good, it's creating value. So I've told you about this, but I had a family friend that's watched a lot of my content.
Oh, yeah.
I hadn't seen him for 9 years. I saw him a couple Christmases ago in person. And he acknowledged that. He's like, I've seen your videos. I've seen you doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then, again, we haven't talked since then, since 2 years ago. Actually, I think it might have been last year. More recently, I was tweeting some stuff.
Yeah.
And he read one of the tweets. And same thing. He's like, hey, I watched all your videos, all your content. He's like, but this one got me thinking.
Yeah.
And so that's the other thing. It's like, quality is probably by far the most important, but there's a level of quantity as well, right?
Yeah.
We've got to be just as diligent, do as much volume, if not more guests, more people, more connections, while still maintaining the quality. So I think we have a good balance of that, where we're just like gung-ho, get it done. That's the salesperson in us.
Yep.
But we have a good balance of like, how do we do this without losing the message? How do we do this while also working upwards, right? I think one of the things we're good with is we don't just do it for the sake of doing it. We're just like, how can we make this more than what it is?
Yeah, and I get excited. I honestly get excited for something like this.
Me too.
I can share with you one of the challenges that I faced was learning to ask questions instead of doing so much talking, and I've kind of I've started slowly figuring that out, and also being patient with the responses too. And Nathan Sagoo, that guy blew the top off. I think with having him on the episode, being mindful, being thoughtful, and then having his parents on and letting them share their story, that experience was probably one of the cooler ones for me. Because I'm like, how do we get into a state of actually helping people understand what he's going through? Because most people are just looking at it as like, okay, here's this person. They've obviously can't do some of the stuff that we do, but they're just living. But it was so much more than that. And the experience behind the parents, and they were like, inspiration was what I walked away from with that one. Right?
Yeah. That was a great podcast.
Yeah.
It's great. Different, I think, again, it enables us to...
it had nothing to do with business. It had nothing to do with work. It had nothing to do with money.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I've been a strong proponent of, like trying to build something kind of more long lasting outside of just short-term business and money. Again, those things are important, but beyond that, it's like what is actually important.
Yes.
And bringing that and merging business and relationships, people, emotions, all the things that naturally as men we're probably not as good at.
So here's a question.
Yeah.
What do you think's changed in you, personally, professionally, just putting yourself into uncomfortable situations like this over the last 6 to 8 months?
Loaded question, but I think the best way to answer that is like, I wouldn't say so much that I'm changing. It's like more of me becoming who I am, if that makes sense. So the way I would see it is like, imagine you're born into this world. You grow up at a certain point. You're this person,
Okay.
but then every year goes by and you get new layers of complexities added: school, image, relationships, how other people perceive you, social status. And so I actually feel like this social media, the podcast, all that is actually stripping those layers away into who I actually am.
Right.
If that makes sense. So I don't feel like it's more of a, I don't feel like it's as much of a changing of who I am, but more of me
Evolution?
more of me becoming who I actually am,
Yeah.
more openly.
Do you think more people can get into that state by
Yeah.
doing something like this,
Yes,
by
yes.
getting uncomfortable?
Yes. Yeah.
So everybody has
Without
it
a
in
doubt.
them.
With 100%. 100%. I mean, even now to this point where just recently, I talked to you off camera about this, but I'm going through a lawsuit with some company in
That's interesting.
in I guess the central Canada.
Yeah.
So, but like that scenario, there now it's like, okay, I'm forced to confront this situation that I'm in. And so it makes me think a couple layers deep. Do I want to make a video about this? Do I want to address this publicly?
Right.
How do I want to address this publicly? How can I do it where it doesn't hurt the wrong people? And so again, that's all where that is that complex layer of just stripping away the layers. And it's almost like, with, lack of a better way to describe it, is like standing naked and letting people see your flaws.
Yeah.
We show our highlights. We do our
always do.
podcast. We show all our good stuff, our good questions, our podcasts, our guests, the fun that we have. But rarely on social media do people show the not so good stuff.
Yeah.
And so now, because I'm like, okay, if I'm really trying to be real with our viewers and our guests, then I got to strip everything away. So I got to stand there naked in front of them and let them see everything. I got to let them see the wins,
Yeah.
but I got to let them see the pain and the struggle, right? So
That's
yeah,
hard to do.
for sure. Yeah.
That's hard to do because we always want to show up like
Yeah.
as our best versions of ourselves.
That's what I mean. It's not like I'm changing. It's almost like I'm stripping those layers away, allowing me to be who I am.
It's okay to be judged.
It's okay to be judged. Yeah. And yeah, in fact, it was never not okay. It's just we thought it wasn't okay.
We thought it wasn't based on
Right? Because we were always trying to please other people. Like, oh, don't judge me. I want to please. I want to be a people pleaser. I want to make you happy. I want you to like me.
That's why we're in sales, though.
That is our
That's why we're in sales, because we are people pleasers at the
Yeah.
end of the day. You know what ends up happening is, the realization is, the more we grow and the more people that are readily available, the more opportunities we're going to get.
For
and
sure.
then we don't have to be those people pleaser type of kind of, oh, we need everything.
Yeah.
We don't need everything. We only just need a select few, and then we grow it, and then we just let them experience it as well.
Right.
I think this entire situation, this entire thing that we've done, it's a collectively shared experience whenever somebody comes in, because they leave behind a piece of them that maybe they didn't share publicly before. And that one thing was, I'm going to bring up Hivi. Hivi Sardar. She is a women's empowerment coach. And remember
Right.
when she was talking about how she was, unfortunately, at a young age, her and her mother were in prison. And to me, I was thinking, that's absolutely insane. How do you overcome that? And then she shared her story. I was like, you've literally left a piece of yourself here with us today. And I'm like, I'm never going to forget that, because that happens around the world. We're just not exposed to it.
Not at all. Yeah.
We are just so
Sheltered.
We're sheltered. We're so privileged. We have blinders on,
For sure.
and our parents are trying to save us from any harm. And here's this lady who's got this crazy cool business with all these amazing people, and she's so kind. She's so
Very
loving.
kind. Yeah.
And then you find out where she came from. It's like, oh, that's
Yeah.
that's different.
Yeah.
We thought that you would have came from like a loving family, but
And
apparently not.
You don't know, right?
You don't know.
Yeah, we don't know what we don't know. So yeah, no, I think that I think again we're providing that platform for people, which is cool for us. And we want to keep doing more of it.
What do you think about hardships that a lot of these businesses and a lot of these guests that we've had on? What do you think about their hardships and their pain and their kind of journey that they took to become who they are? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, you mean like?
Do you think we can learn something from that?
From their hardships?
From their hardships, from their pain?
Yeah. I think they're yeah. I mean, if you try to learn, you will learn. But it just depends, right? You don't want to learn the hardships.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be hard,
It doesn't need to be hard.
right?
Yeah.
So like a part of it's like sometimes we learn good things from people.
Yes, we
but
do.
there is also the opportunity of us learning not so good things.
Yep.
So maybe I don't know. As I've gotten older, I've tried to not learn so much from others' experiences, but more from my own.
Yeah.
I think I always thought you were so good at that too. I thought you were just like, I try not to give people lessons, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'd rather them learn their own lessons. Give them foundations. We say, hey, don't do this, don't do that. Sure, a little bit. But like they'll learn more when they do make a mistake.
Yeah.
And they come back, I should never do this again.
I share analogies.
Analogies, yeah.
Analogies, and then the other thing is with the hardships, I'm thinking, that person's made the mistake. Why would I want to do the same thing twice?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm always thinking like, why am I going to take the hard path? This guy's literally giving me a blueprint of how they failed.
Right.
And then there's another route that says, if you do X, Y, Z, it's just going to get you there. However, I don't think everything is on a blueprint, and everybody.
Yeah.
If I think going from A to B is a straight line, somebody else might need to do that zigzag as long as they get to B, and then they're better for it, and then they find an operational sense of or a system to make it a little bit more compact and save their time. I'm all about saving time.
Yeah.
What can we do to save time?
Or maybe even they start that question is so intriguing because I've thought about this for a long time.
Yeah.
So let's say they're going from A to B, but they end up at C, but maybe C was what they actually wanted. They just didn't know.
Oh.
Right? Like it's just so human.
Because you're evolving, you're learning.
Yeah, and even now, like let's say you were to reflect on the last couple of years and highlight again, most of what you will share is like your highlight reels, what you remember from the last couple of years. But you don't remember like how you felt in that moment, and all that changes over time. So yeah, it's really hard to, that's what I mean. Like that path thing is a hard thing because A to B might be faster, but maybe that guy wanted to go to C all along, and he was just lying to himself, but you didn't know that.
Yeah, that's actually good.
So humans are just very complex in that way, where we try to, make sense of why we went a certain path. And
yeah, there's a lot of soul searching.
Yeah,
I do that sometimes, and then I'm asking the same question over and over again. It's been answered. There's nothing to talk about here, and just move on. It's literally just A, B, like yes, no.
Right.
Am I like now for some reason, some way, somehow, I've come to a decision where if something's gonna work, I just need to make a decision of how I have control over my decisions.
Right.
And I'm not gonna force people to make a decision on their own.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give them the information.
Right.
And then I'm just gonna let it be. And if it happens, it happens.
Right.
If it doesn't, at least I know I did my best to try to work it out.
That is the right way, I think, if there was a right way. I have a question for you. So 2023 is coming to a close. Obviously the podcast is a new journey. Any other notable wins for you? Like I haven't asked you this question off camera, so I really don't know.
Notable wins for this year.
Yeah. Is there something that you remember about this year that makes it different than every other year, or not quite? Or is it just the podcast?
I think it's the podcast.
It is the podcast.
It's something completely different.
Dude, for me too.
So the way I like to look at my life is every single year there's always something big that I've done.
Yeah.
And most times it was always something that I wanted to do for myself.
Right.
It was taking a big trip. It was maybe planning some big event. But it was just something just like feed my own ego or feed my own need to be able to share with that. But with this, I literally don't need to share anything with anybody. People will just come to me and be like, hey, we saw you do this and we saw you do that. I'm like, dang. I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, you guys actually follow that deeply. Yeah. But now what I realized also is there's a term called allodaxophobia.
Okay.
Where it's the fear of people's beliefs or judgments about yourself.
Okay.
When you're talking about kind of shedding your own beliefs about who you are or adding new beliefs and kind of strengthening your core values, I feel like that's happened to me where I was like the worthiness, we're all worthy. We just put so much pressure on ourselves to be a certain way.
Right.
We don't always need to be like perfect. We can't. It's okay to make mistakes. I get it sometimes. Talking to clients, talking to loved ones, especially because you don't want to hurt them. We want to show up in a way where it's like we want to be there for them. For sure. But also I understand we can't please everybody, and we can't please everybody and have a win. We also have needs for ourselves.
For sure.
So this is all new learned information because we brought those guests on, and I had to methodically think that if we only have 45 minutes to an hour with them, what question is going to bring the most value to me?
Exactly, yeah.
It was such a selfish need. Like this podcast, this entire journey, it was a
Right.
selfish need to learn about myself because
Right.
the previous years have been so difficult. And then this year I was like, let's go on this exploration journey of
Right.
meeting the people, and then something will come out of it. And man,
Exactly. So, but yeah, to that point, like I don't think it was a new belief for you, but it was just
No.
like again, it was that shedding of that layer, right? Getting rid of the ego and saying, okay, who is
Yes.
Karnvir actually? Can he be
Yeah.
the same person he is on camera and in reality?
yeah,
And just being like allowing ourselves to expose that side of ourselves, so
Yeah.
that other people can peek in and say, okay, who is this guy really, and what's he really about?
also what I realize is I still am not comfortable talking about like my personal life. I'd rather share until you get to know me. Like
Right.
obviously you know a lot more. I have friends that know a lot more because we'll share ideas, we'll share thoughts, and
Maybe it's time.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
it's time.
it could
I have
be.
a lot that I could share too.
There's a lot that we can share, but then I also get uncomfortable because I'm like, that part of me, I don't want it exposed.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's not for anybody to know.
Right.
It's my journey, it's my healing, whatever it is.
Right.
We call it whatever it is, but it's like, I don't care for people to know this. Like, it's
Yeah,
not going to
and-
benefit them. It's just information for them to just like possibly just know about me. And I'm like,
Right.
good or bad, that's for
Right.
them to. It's a perspective that they're going to keep for themselves. But for me, it's like, no, I don't need to. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'd rather share the stuff that's going to make an impact.
For sure, and I think even the stuff that we're sharing that's going to make an impact, it's like there's no need to do it. We just want to do it. We enjoy it, and so I think even like
I love it.
your story, if you were to share it, I think the question is, would it allow you to own your truth a little bit more deeply? And if the answer is yes,
I've thought
then you
about
do
that.
it. And I say, I don't know, maybe that is the standing there, being vulnerable, and allowing people to peek inside and
Yep.
make their judgment, and then being independent of what they feel about you, right?
So here's the thought that I had. I never want to feel like a victim. So that's why I don't want to share some of the stuff, because I'm like, if I don't feel like a victim in this situation and I've overcome it and I've figured out a way to kind of get past it,
Right.
whatever the history is, doesn't matter. It could be from
Sure.
childhood, teenage years, or young adult years, right?
For sure.
Like whatever that idea is, you're not the victim. You have a choice. I've just dwindled it down to if I have a choice, A, B, C, D, then I'm like, it's up to me to correct either my behavior or my thought process.
Right.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll make those changes. And I'm like, great, now I'm a better person for it, and let's just move on.
Right. Yeah. I think the only reason to share it is if there's people that are going through what you're going
Yes.
through that may benefit.
Yes,
But
yes, yes.
outside of that, for sure.
Also-
You gotta just feel it out.
Also, I think we've lived a pretty cushy life.
Oh, for sure.
I'm not gonna lie. Like,
For sure.
I got nothing. There's
Yeah,
nothing in my
we got
history that's
nothing.
gonna help somebody.
Yeah.
It's just what can I find out of other people that can share, right?
Yeah.
Business stuff, I think, is very relevant. It's very, you do this, you get that. You do this, you get that. And it's mostly to do with repetition. And then you find your own system, and it's good to go. I don't think there's anything revolutionary about it. There's no like blue pill or red pill or whatever.
Right. It's just
It's like-
it's really simple. Most things are actually quite simple. Dude, I will say though, like if I'm just reflecting on the podcast, I want more girls on the podcast.
More women?
More women. And the reason I want more women is because I just think they think so differently.
They do.
And I feel like they're so different from the traditional male mind, which is very like, again, at least I could speak for myself. I can't speak for everyone, but I could say my mind is very systems, very operations, very like logical thinking. And I feel like women are better at just understanding people and
Yeah.
like just the pure emotions. Like
They have
emotions,
a higher emotional quotient.
Exactly. They respond. They understand from a place of feeling and making you understood. Whereas guys are more like, okay, A, B, and C.
Yeah, forget about
Women
how you
are
feel.
like-
Just go do the work.
Women, to some degree, they're like C, B, A, and they still get to the solution. So I don't know. I want to have more women on the podcast. So I don't know. This is kind of a request, I guess, for any women.
It's in the universe now.
It's
It's in the universe.
That's what it is. So anytime I get, if you connect me, I'm like, oh, it's a woman. Yeah, let's bring her on because I want that.
Yeah, a
I
different
want those
perspective.
lessons. I want those different perspectives. At least for myself, I think it would be beneficial. So
Let's go bring more women on the pod.
I know. Hey, that's
Some
my
more,
excuse
like-
for also being around more women.
For being strong.
I swear, everyone in the comments is going to be like, he just wants to be around more girls.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
yeah.
true, I do, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Not for our podcast guests. It's a serious business for us here. So,
Yeah, that's interesting.
so dude,
So is that something you look forward for 24
yes,
of just
yes,
consistency with a different variety of guests?
yes,
Old, young,
yeah.
male, female.
Uh, age not so much. Like it's not. I don't factor that as much, but I think naturally because we're guys and we connect with guys and we talk to guys, I feel like we just get more guys and
Yeah.
on our podcast. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'd like to have more women on the show. I notice a big difference communicating with guys and communicating with women. Just
Yeah.
again, they understand people better than most men, and
There's a softer delivery to them.
yeah, exactly.
It's way softer.
It's way softer.
Like some of the answers we got, like when I'm talking to some of the guys, just not even on the podcast.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean? Just do
Yeah.
it this way. And I'm like, man, you could have been nicer about it. And I'm just thinking, I was like, no, that's not gonna work. It's literally just it needs to get done. And there's no questions, answers, and there's nothing to talk about.
Exactly. Yeah. So no, more women on the podcast for sure.
Cool.
Dude, what's really cool about what we did this year, if we're doing a quick actual reflection, we launched our podcast. We did a soft launch on my personal YouTube. You've started your personal YouTube page as well. We started the Unconventional Podcasters. That's is that the YouTube channel?
Yeah, that's the YouTube channel.
Instagram page is Unconventional Podcasters as well.
Yeah.
We got so we went from no logo to a logo.
Yeah.
Initial name was Checking In with Rahul and Karnvir to Unconventional with Rahul and Karnvir.
Oh, there was a couple funny names. I can't remember the other ones, but Checking In was the funniest one.
Right. We went from recording on our phone to then using DSLR to now having a studio, the Westland building, which a lot of people use. So whatever, it's cool.
Yeah. I've actually recommended that to like a few other podcasters in the last like month.
Same.
They're like, "Where do you guys shoot?
This
That's
is
great."
where you go.
And I'm like,
"Where you go." So I just look at like the actual process of going from there to the end. What's really cool is I realized that you can jump. So we could have just from the get-go, if we spent another couple months planning, I feel like we could have just jumped to the studio and skipped all the stuff in between.
Yeah.
But I feel like the iteration gives us more respect for the craft.
Yeah.
The fact that you and I sat here with my camera or your phone and recorded this, where the phone would shut off and the cameras would die and the mics would
the battery would overheat.
And the battery would overheat.
We had to come back 3 hours later.
And then the mic was off for a whole episode, and we never got to share that episode.
We didn't. There's a bunch of archived footages.
So much
that we have not shared. There's at least 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah.
That just they'll never see the day of light.
We do the 2 podcasts in a day. Then we went and watched a professional podcast with Chai with Tarun.
Tarun.
We watched that live. Then we got to connect with the creator community in the South Asian arts. We went to the Monsoon Fest. So I just feel like the way we did it, I wouldn't change. We could have jumped, but I feel like the iteration gave us more respect and value for the craft. So for anyone that's gone from being nothing to then creating, like, respect to you, because it's fun and it's work. It is work.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like labor. It's not like your job where you're making sales calls or
Yeah, this is not paying us.
It's not paying us.
This is just like full enjoyment.
It's enjoyment.
This is like a good break.
It's really good.
I feel smarter every time I walk out of here because I'm like.
We also launched a live on YouTube.
That was fun.
So now we have live where we bring on guests. What's cool is our podcast, The Unconventional, we were able to bring on guests in a professional setting, ask them great questions. The live is actually more for us because we're business-minded people, so we like investing, we like Bitcoin, or not Bitcoin, but crypto. We just like understanding spaces, interest rates, all the little nitty-gritty stuff that happens in the economy. So the live gave us a platform to do that. So now I don't know. I say we've got like a whole portfolio of work now, and
it is.
I think it's just so cool the way that it was built from nothing to then having, editors in Pakistan to then studio space to just everything that's happened. I think it's been a good year. So I'm actually really looking forward to this next year. I did want to.
So you're saying you have a bit of a blueprint.
I would rather people build their own blueprint because we didn't ask people. We just did.
We literally just showed up.
Yeah, so that's not. We didn't follow a blueprint for us. Why would we recommend it to others? I have a question for you though. This next year, I do want to start doing like actual masterminds. What are your thoughts on that?
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's important to do something like that.
Yeah.
Have a keynote, like we could be the introductory people, having a keynote speaker, and then having people within that space. And we're not just going to connect with people within that space. People are going to come outside of it as well. People will just want to know of what's going on.
Exactly.
The people that we met during the live recording of Tarun and Pangralicious, it wasn't people that were all in the art studio or they were all the people
All
that
over.
do Pangra.
Yeah.
It was people that were just generally a following of the two that were invited to this event. Because Gerb had an idea, and the thought was he's going to invite people that would be interested, and the right crowd.
Their
came about.
their podcast next year is going to be bumping.
It will be.
It will be really good.
It
I
will
know
be.
for a fact because dude, respect to her because she crushed it. That was a great podcast.
Yeah.
Don't even speak the language all that well, but
But you understand it.
I understand parts of it, and I could, dude. They did so well, and I was like, oh, I'm so
Yeah.
jealous. I want a podcast like this.
That's a
So it's funny because
20 years of experience.
I know, but I feel like we get there a lot sooner with our passion for it. And then even just the little things that people don't see. I pitched, we pitched Connect FM.
That was fun.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Right. We
went there for GNFK event, and they invited me into the live studio to just talk about what's happening, how we're donating.
The Guru Nanak's free kitchen.
Guru Nanak Free Kitchen, and then ended up getting the director and the salesperson's number, and we were just talking about radios, and I was like, hey, guess what?
Yeah, and
I'm like,
pitched
reach
him.
out.
I followed him on LinkedIn. So, it's cool to use our experiences to do those things, and maybe we get our own little show.
It's exposure. I think the more exposure that we get just by sharing information, the better it is for the community, and then we're just going to get more opportunities.
Yeah.
It's not even that I never went into this thing thinking there's going to be so many opportunities for me to grow my business or grow this, that, or the other. It was generally, I'm trying to figure my own stuff out.
Yeah.
I wanted to buy a car.
Yeah.
We went and found a car guy.
Yeah.
We wanted to go to some sort of, I needed some information about real estate, insurances. So I'm just bring these people on. And the funny thing is, nobody ever says no because they want to be on camera too. They just never had an opportunity
A platform or place,
and most people don't want to do it on their own.
I will tell you, I have a secret side quest in my mind that I do that I've never told you about. I've never told anyone about.
Yeah.
So every single guest we have,
Yeah.
a part of me is asking questions for the audience, but the deeper part of me is trying to find out if they're legit. I don't know if you do that. It's a weird thing that I do. So every guest is like, I'll ask him a question that's really, it's a question to understand, but it wasn't meant to sidetrack them, but I'm trying to see how deep is their foundation and do they get rattled by this question and go into a direction. I'm like, I don't think that's it. They're not there yet. But, dude, most of the guests that we've had have been on track.
Yeah.
Okay, I will confess to one. So Hevie, there was a question I did ask her about, I can't remember if it was around rock bottom or just understanding.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey, what if we have the desire to want to teach people lessons, but shouldn't you let people go through their own lessons? And she explained it so perfectly because she's like, she's like, I don't really teach. That's not what I do. She's like, I help guide.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, couldn't have answered it better.
That's
so
so
yeah,
good.
so high key, low key in every podcast we've done.
So actually,
There's a low key part of me that's trying to see if
we can stump them.
Yeah.
You want to find out if they're legit or not.
A little bit, yeah.
They have all these followers and they're claiming to do all this stuff, but it's legitimate question to know whether it's going to help the community or not.
For sure.
Also,
For sure.
the way I bring on guests, I'll make a bunch of calls. I'll actually do a pre-interview or a pre-qualification interview,
right,
to see how their speaking skills are, to see how comfortable they are. And so far, man, not a single person has let me down.
I know, dude. It's impressive.
Because I'm always trying to see, you know what? Maybe I can just talk them out of doing this thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they get so bold.
Yeah.
They get more bold than me.
Yeah,
And they're like,
they're awesome.
we're ready to go. And, the funny question, speaking about, funny guests, Anmol Dosanjh.
Yeah.
I thought the funniest question was brains or beauty. Are you guys all beauty or do you guys have any brains up there?
Yeah.
You asked me, should I ask it?
I was unsure, man. I didn't think you'd bring it up. But you brought it up in a way better way than
I was like, let
would've.
me just tone this down.
Dude, you brought it up in the best way. And that's such a blessing because my comment to you was a little bit more direct. It was
Of course.
like, is she intelligent? I think that's how I asked it.
Just in general, it was
Yeah.
like, we're bringing this like beautiful person on,
Yes,
this
yeah.
this contestant.
Yeah.
Like, what do they really have to offer?
Yeah,
That was,
and it's, it sucks because, I don't think people are unintelligent. It's just that, when you see clips on social media from, Miss Universes where they
They'll
answer
highlight the
questions and they're
worst
like,
things.
they're not even answering the question, but they're kind of just like trying to make it sound.
And that's the stuff that goes
intellectual.
viral. And you know what I
Yeah.
learned from her was every single person that actually goes and
Freaking smart.
goes to this journey.
She's intelligent.
Dude, every single one of those women are intelligent. Not even
Yeah.
only that they're intelligent, they believe in the causes that they're supporting.
Yeah.
Because that's all they want to do. They just literally want to help the world.
Yeah.
The beauty part of it is just there just happens to be a platform to showcase that outside
part,
of what they're already doing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like
No, I was
anything more
impressed,
than
dude.
that.
I was straight up.
I was
impressed.
super young. Like,
Super nice.
she wasn't cocky
very
at all.
friendly.
Like, you know how
No.
some people have like egos.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this and the other. I'm so
yeah,
smart.
I thought, really.
A
She was like
pharmaceutical going
devoid
to
of
this.
any like arrogance at all. I was like, I'm more
Yeah.
arrogant than you, and you're Miss Universe.
Yeah.
I know this.
I haven't found
She's
a
cool.
guest that was like egotistical.
No,
They've all just been like
not
generous
one.
and giving,
Actually, yeah, all of them.
right?
Yeah.
Gurp has been my favorite.
I mean, even now, Gurp.
I think Gurp is just like
Gurp's a bro.
the best, man. This guy's a bro dude for sure.
Do you remember we went to social? I think it was socials, just actually close by here. And we walk in, and then the girls just started giggling. And we're like, "What are you guys giggling for?" They're like, "That's our teacher."
Yeah.
Like, you guys too.
You know what's
Who
funny?
hasn't Gurp taught in this community?
Me and Gurp, we've gone to lunch and dinner quite a few times. Every time with a different group of people.
Right.
And it's always here because it's local to everybody. And every single time the staff comes in.
Someone knows them.
And then they'll go to the back and be like, "Hey, our teacher's here," and then they'll come in and I'm like,
it's funny
wow.
because like Gurp's like, "Yeah, you should connect with this guy Kyle," and I was like, "Okay, sure, I connect with Kyle, as my cousin." I'm like, "Yo, you know my cousin too, dude, come on."
Because Kyle was doing some performances at the Monsoon Festival, right?
Yeah, he was. And he was backstage for a bit too with Pavdaria. So yeah, dude, and even dude, what I love, and I think I've hyped you up. I've been your biggest hype man for this. Is like your confidence talking to people that like. For me, I was a little bit hesitant when I met Pav and I met Virtuoso NY. What was his name?
Good thing. Yeah.
Gurtage, all these guys that like have hundreds of thousands of followers, and Justin, and some of these people that we've wrestling classics that we've had on.
Yeah.
You're just so bold. You just go in like we're backstage, which I'm like I don't feel like I belong here. Yeah. And I look up and you're already shaking their hand, and the guy's like, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah.
But they're loving it too, right? Because it's almost like you don't have this veil, like people that have a little bit of like exposure or celebrity status. They kind of have this veil, like people are like, "Oh no," like fanboy moment.
Yeah.
You were just like talking to his producer, shaking his producer's hand, asking his producer questions.
Yeah.
So I've always loved that about you, man. You're just so good at that. It's like
I think about this. Do you fanboy over some of the people that we've met? Just like, oh man, this person is like
and
made you feel a certain way.
Yeah,
like man, this guy's on a pedestal or something.
I mean, not like a pedestal, but like Pavdaria. It's like, the guy's got millions of followers on Spotify. Naja is a pretty big song that it blew up, and so in that way, yes, right. But then the more I talk to them, the more I realize that they're just people. Like,
they're just people.
Gurtage was like almost timid behind scenes.
Man, he was
shy, and it was actually kind of cool. I was like,
kid.
dude, yeah, it's so like innocent. I was like, dude, holy.
Yeah, and
I'm like, oh, man, you've got thousands of people watching you almost every day. I feel more arrogant than you. Like, you can say no. They were so cautious to say no to us.
Also, you know what I realized? Even with Gurtage, what I like with him especially, or just, I guess it probably applies to a lot of artists. Some people need to do some crowd work, like Kevin Hart. He's a comedian,
right?
So he probably needs to work himself up, go up on stage. But Gurtage, like when he was preparing, he was in the zone.
Yeah,
I could see him when we were inside and he was practicing. He was strumming away on his guitar.
Right.
He was zoned out.
He was,
and he was just
getting when he was
in the zone.
outside on the patio, walking, pacing.
And
he's also, I know you're right. He does. I think he would benefit from interacting more. He's young though, eh?
He's young. He's young. And
I saw the difference between him and Pav.
Yeah.
Pav was talking, conversations on stage.
He was hilarious.
Yeah.
He's just like, okay, is it time? Okay, we're gonna jump on stage. And for him, it's just routine because he's done it so many times.
Yeah.
And Gurtage just like, he's a serious guy,
Yeah.
but also he's not because once the show was finished,
He was just like,
he was acting fun. He
Yeah,
was
yeah.
loose, and it was just like maybe all of it went away.
The
But the
pressure.
guys, and this is where experience comes in. Once you have the experience, you have the wisdom of knowing that it's not that big of a deal. But it's
Right.
because of repetition, it's because of practice, you
Right.
feel comfortable.
Right. What else, man? What else can we build on this upcoming year? So we've made some strides on the podcast, the lives, the different
This
things.
upcoming
So
year.
masterminds, actual physical events. Actually, guys, like if you're watching this episode of the Unconventional Reflections, if you think we should do a mastermind, and if you think you would attend this mastermind, leave a comment or send us a direct message, and we'll put something together. What I'm thinking just right now, haven't gone into detail with this at all, but we've met mortgage brokers, financial advisors, personal coaches, development coaches, so many people that come from all these walks of life that, hey, if we were to put all these people in a room, we might be able to do something special and educate the youth, educate young adults, and get people ahead. So yeah, if you're interested and open to coming to a mastermind, let us know.
Yeah, I think that's huge.
It's just something. Again, it's just a conversation we've had right now.
it's
We've thought
good.
about it, but
Because I've done stuff for my business. I've never done I've thought about having something like this, but it was more along the lines of just getting a bunch of cool people in a room together.
Yeah.
Because we have
Yeah.
access now.
Yeah.
Because with that access, I've sent business to the mortgage brokers that I've had on the show.
For sure.
I've sent business to the insurance broker. I've sent
Right.
business to Sunny, where told one of my friends, I was like, you're gonna buy a car, you're going to Chilliwack, you're gonna go to
Right.
Sunny because he'll find you the right deal.
Right.
So that's actually cool. It's actually
Yeah.
important.
Right. Exactly.
So
So just
we'll just grab more
be
people.
fun. Yeah, and then I think if we made it a little bit more focused about actual the message, so instead of just like come together, we'll meet and do something, it's like come together, we're going to actually help you.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool to build something like that. And I think it'll start small. Might start with like 15, 20 people, but I've always had this vision in my mind where America is really big on personal development conferences.
They are.
So every year they'll do, for example, Tony Robbins is a massive event, thousands of people. Grant Cardone has an event. There's just so many.
Yeah.
But when you think of Canada and you think of personal development events, nothing really comes to mind.
No.
And so for me, it's, again, one, it's why don't we have it? And then two is who's going to start creating these environments for people?
Yeah.
And so why not us, right? That's the question. Why not us? So I think that's kind of the next step for us.
Why not us?
Why
Okay,
not
you know
us?
what? That's actually a good note to end it. Because now that the thought's planted,
Yeah,
now we just got to go execute.
there you go.
Because this is a thing of we talk about things and we just go do them, and now this is just
This
got
is
my
the next
brain.
thing, yeah.
It's a
Maybe
next
we
thing.
do it this next first week of January. Kick off the new year.
Yeah, because the thing is, the YouTube and the live and the vlogs,
So much
that's
of it.
going to continue. That's not going to go away. It's how do we add an additional layer from people watching from behind the computer screen to actually getting people involved and interacting with the people that we're with.
Exactly. And even if like one or two people feel compelled from that meeting to take action in the direction they want to go, then,
We've made a difference.
Then that's all that matters.
I think we've made a difference at that
Then
point.
it makes sense.
All we have to do is facilitate,
That's
open
really,
the doors.
when we're not even the experts. We
No.
just get experts in the room and we just, hey guys, this is us. This is what we're doing. That's
Yeah.
it would be easy to do.
That's awesome, man.
So,
Thank
dude,
you so
Karn,
much.
thank you for
2023 is closing out.
I know 2024 is going to be a big year. I feel it in my bones.
Any final comments?
I actually do. I have lots of, man, I could talk for hours. My final comments, and then I'll let you wrap it up, is, guys, thanks again for tuning in to everything that we're doing. We really hope it's helping in some way and encouraging more people to take the leap into content or sharing their message and their ideas. I appreciate all the people that interact with us on social media. We always look for guests. I think obsessively so. We want to bring more people on. Again, 2024 is going to be a big year for us and in the community because we want to bring so many guests on. We want to share so many more stories. And again, we just want to be the platform for you to come on and talk about what you're good at, what you do, what you enjoy, your passions. And so, I would appreciate if you guys connect us to more guests. And guys, thanks for listening.
Cool. You know what? I can't beat that.
Yeah.
I think what he said is what we actually need and what we're looking forward to. So that's getting me excited. And with you guys' support, with you guys' help, and all the comments that you're sending, man, I just can't say enough for the people that take the time to reach out,
love
to
it.
leave a comment or to send a DM. I got a text message from one of my really good friends yesterday, and I was thinking, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes us feel full, guys. Like it
Yeah.
really does. It's
Yeah,
a
because
big,
we're
it's a
just
big
doing this for
difference.
ourselves.
Yeah,
And we're just
it really
broadcasting
is.
it. And now, so yeah, let's keep filling that cup.
There you go. Guys, we want the best for you guys in 2024. We know the year is starting, so go after whatever it is that you want. And again, if we bring you some value, hit us up.
Awesome.
Okay, all right, let's go.